The story began in a low-level dungeon with a stone golem monster attacking a man with a shield in his hands. After the first hit from the stone golem, the man's shield broke. The man in armor shouted for him not to take the blow head-on, but to deflect its attacks. After that, the guy with an iron sword and the guy with a black blade shouted that they were going to attack. After hitting the stone golem, it went into berserk mode and began to move straight at the guys. The man with the shield shouted in fear for everyone to take a defensive position, and the mages would finish it off. Then, a mage raised a staff with a yellow stone and shouted, "Hey mana gopher, what are you doing? I don't have enough mana." Sano Haruto, the hunter nicknamed Mana Gopher, closed his eyes and cast a magic in his hand, which he directed at the mage. The mage smiled and said, "Nice. With this much, I can even beat the giant king golem." The mage started attacking the monster and destroyed it after a while. Haruto sat down on the ground and exhaled heavily. The man in armor approached Haruto and said, "Your contribution to dungeon clearing wasn't that much, so go help dismantling unit." Haruto looked at the man in armor in surprise, but agreed. The guy in green asked, "He's a hunter, right?" The brown jacket guy said, "His skills are useless, but he can generate mana endlessly." The guy in green asked in surprise, "Infinitely generate mana?" The guy in jacket said, "What's so special about that? We only needed that much mana during the boss fight." The guy in the cap said, "So that's why he hasn't been able to reach level 30 even after 5 years. Even the weakest hunter would be much stronger than him." Haruto clicked his tongue in displeasure and thought, "Shut up already. I know you're talking loud enough for me to hear it." Meanwhile, in the Great Sage Guild, Haruto slapped his hand on the table in surprise and asked, "What does that mean?" "Me, a hunter, is transferred to the manufacturing department." The man in the suit said, "The thing is, no one else wants to take him into the dungeon with them. Besides, he was level 29, which meant it was impossible to do solo hunting." Haruto pointed at himself and said discontentedly, "But my mana has been useful to many. I was just a little bit away from level 30. If you gave me a chance." The man in the suit said he asked if he thought level 30 would change anything. Haruto was about to say something, but the man in the suit interrupted him and said that the guild had decided and it was better for him. Also, he would fit in perfectly in the mana potion manufacturing department. Haruto angrily asked, "If I refuse, will you kick me out of the guild?" After a while, Haruto grabbed his throat and said in pain, "I lost my job in an instant. Everyone thinks that my skill is endlessly generating mana and transferring it to allies, but the truth is it's a bit more special than that. I just haven't told it to anyone." Haruto took the food in his hand, and a system pop-up appeared. It asked, "Copy the target." Haruto pressed the button, and suddenly a copy of the food appeared in his hand. He said that this ability allows him to copy and paste objects. When he awakened as a hunter, he had high hopes for this skill, but he quickly realized that this skill is quite useless for a hunter. Haruto put the copy of the food on the bench, and it disappeared. Haruto said that as soon as the object leaves his hands, it disappears like a mirage. The most annoying thing is that there's a level limit to copying equipment. He shows a level 90 dagger in front of him, but he can't copy it because his level should be the same or higher than dagger. Haruto said that his infinite mana generation skill is also this same skill because he can copy his small amount of mana endlessly. The copied mana doesn't disappear and can be given to other hunters. He tried to copy skills in the same way, but to do that, he had to kill high-level monsters. Haruto angrily squeezed the can and said, "If I could level up and copy good equipment, then they would all see what I'm capable of." Haruto picked up the phone. It was a photo of a long sword, and it said, "Breaking news! The Clasia Dragon Longsword is coming to Japan." He said that this sword has 2 special skill slots, increases defense power, and is unique because as soon as the sword is picked up, its user's level increases by 200. What's cool about this blade is that it can be equipped from level 30. Haruto thought, if I copied this sword, I would become a level 230 hunter. In a week, it will be shown at an exhibition in Japan. This legendary blade has only 10% of its durability left and is only good for a few raids, so the owners wanted to make money on it in another way. Haruto smiled madly, looking at his phone. He thought, this is a great chance for me. If I could touch it even once, no matter how much durability it had, I would be able to recreate this blade forever. A few days later, there were spider monsters in the dungeon. The guy with the sword in his hands and the guy with the headband were dealing with the spider monsters. The lair of the Great King Spider is an unregistered dungeon in the Hunter Association. The guy with the yellow hair turned back and asked for mana. Haruto put his hands in front of him and sent mana to the guy. Fire appeared from his staff and began to spread in the dungeon. He began to laugh madly and shouted, "I will burn you all." Haruto covered his face with his hand and thought about the difference in power level. After a while, a blue sign appeared in front of Haruto. He said that he should check his level now. Suddenly, a guy in armor came up to him from behind and asked him with satisfaction, is he checking his status again? No matter how much he looked, nothing would change. Haruto looked back in fear and said that he just wanted to prepare for the boss. The armor guy cut him off and said, "You're just watching. You should be prepared to pay the spectator fee." Suddenly, someone's voice shouted for them to finish and move on as the boss arena was very close. After reaching the boss arena gate, he told them to stop as this was the clutch of a great spider. On a stone column lay a monster, and under it lay large eggs. Alexa, the boss of the dungeon, level 80, Haruto thought with fear that he would get killed instantly if he got close. His junior, Ikunaga, turned to Haruto and said that no one would send him into battle. He had nothing to fear. Killing a great spider is easy, but you need to be careful. The main thing is to carefully watch her web. If he gets caught, he won't get out. You also need to be careful with her eggs. If you break them, the great spider will go berserk, and if she goes berserk, they will all be finished. The guy with yellow hair asked Ikunaga, why is he wasting time? Explaining this to the spectator. Ikunaga smiled and apologized. Suddenly, a stone flew out from under the guy with the staff's feet and flew straight into the web. All the guys looked up and saw an angry monster in front of them. The man who held the shield in his hand shouted, "All because of this stupid mage. The giant spider has been woken up." The monster's paw hit the man's shield. He counterattacked on the spider by cutting its legs. Then, the man warned that they needed to be careful with the web and eggs when they attacked. The guys said in one voice, "Okay," and started attacking. Haruto watched from behind a stone, happily watching everything. He thought, it's good they are beating the spider with such ease. If I was lucky, I would rise to level 35 right away. Suddenly, the monster turned around. The guy with the scarf on his head turned to the others and shouted, "She is releasing a web." Everyone needed to hide behind the columns. The guy with yellow hair raised his fire staff and asked confidently, "Everyone, step back. I will burn the monster along with the web." The monster began to release a web, creating a shield in front of him. The guy asked in surprise, "Did she reflect my fireball?" He said displeased, "Well, that's it. She made me angry now. I will show her my true power." Haruto shouted, "You shouldn't. That would only make things worse." Fireballs formed above the guy with the staff. He laughed madly and shouted, "Meteor shower!" The guy with the scarf on his head shouted at him, "Stupid idiot! He can hit the eggs." The guy with the staff in his hand stood in shock. Haruto said in fear, "It's too late." Suddenly, the eggs began to crack. The guy with the scarf on his head fearfully ordered everyone to run because she was going to go crazy. The guy with yellow hair was completely pinned to the ground by the web. Ikunaga shouted, "Quickly climb the columns." When the monster goes crazy, it shoots webs in all directions. Haruto stood in shock and watched the monster. Suddenly, a web flew into Ikunaga's face, and both got captured. The guy with yellow hair asked, "How so?" His fireball didn't work on the web. The monster approached him. He scaredly said, "Stop. I'm begging you." He screamed in fear for the monster not to come near him and to go away. The monster swung its paw and pressed into the ground, killing him. Haruto, chained to the ground by the web, watched in horror. Suddenly, the monster began to approach Haruto. He thought that he just needed one damn level, and now he was going to die like this. Then, the monster plunged its paw into Haruto, and blood flew all over the floor. Suddenly, a pop-up appeared. That's it for today. Comment part 2 for the next part.